All right, we head on to chapter 6. Okay, so now this is listing a property properly. Okay, right, so the most important thing you need to remember now, I've got Herbert here, right? He's my photographer. All right, he shoots listings we have for sale and rental, and right now, of course, he's recording me right now during this training course. The most important thing you need to do is present your property properly. I can never stress that so much, right? If you ever see me with a listing that has not so good pictures, it's because I wanted to list it now, right, while I wait for the pictures the next day or two, right? Because it serves me when I have people looking at the property, even though it may not be at its prime condition in terms of pictures and presentation right now. That's the only time you'll ever see me. But 9 times out of 10, all the properties that I have are listed with professional pictures. In fact, all of the ones that I have, that's the point where I am right now. Most of the ones that aren't either belongs to agents who are under the team or who work for us, and I've decided to put it on anyway there so that I can help them ensure that their eyes look at the property while, right, they organize a photographer or get the funds to pay for photography, right? But you always want to present the properties at all times in good condition, whether it's drone footage, it's video. At all times, go all out because it'll serve you. I've had countless landlords call me because of the way I presented my properties, or the properties I've had online, so much that they wanted the same things for them. And ultimately, it feels good, or it does good when you invest in your property. People take you more seriously when you have invested. Okay, it means that you're the right person to do business with, and you want to be that person, or you want to be that right person that people see that they can actually do business with because you are because you invest in the business that you're doing today. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, I won't say how much, but the price to take professional pictures is not that much, guys, even when you're beginning. Okay, invest 1 to 2 to 3 of those amounts. I won't say it because my photographer is going to kill me if I tell him how good of an offer he gives me on my pictures. But my point is that you can afford to take good pictures for good return in terms of how much you actually make. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so pre-listing information prep. Okay, now of course when you do visit these properties, you want to write down the features of these properties, right? In most cases, you will never know what's inside the property and what's been renovated, other than the information that the landlord will give you. And you'll never know from looking outside what this particular property has versus its neighboring ones, or if it's an apartment block and you think that they're all the same. There are certain things that the landlord would have done to that property that could add a lot of benefit to someone who wants to either rent it or buy it from them. So keep in mind that you want to take notes of what's been done so that you can create an ad that's aligned to that specific property and the value one could get from that. Okay, so have a pen and paper during your interaction with the landlord or the seller, or make sure that you ask the right questions prior to you even going, so that you can also use that information to create a good evaluation on the listing itself, right, when you get the mandate. Okay, then creating a property fact sheet. Same thing when you write down the information, you want to keep that information, know it off by heart, or have a template somewhere on your WhatsApp where you can answer people when they come to you, because the quickest information you need to give out, especially when it comes to people who want to buy or rent, are the numbers, right? So you want to make sure you know how much A and B costs, and how much additional costs they're going to be, either with the sale or the rental. I like to go the extra mile and of course calculate things like transfer costs. When someone comes to want to buy a property with us, I go up front to ensure that I even calculate how much transfer costs are going to cost them, right? Of course, we have an internal transferring attorney called JJS Incorporated, and I take the time to get a quote and say, hey, look, this property will cost you $4.5 million plus these transfer costs. So in fact, I may have put it for $4.5 million, but in actuality, it's going to cost you $5 million. Okay, and I want you to know that now, not later. I want you to know all the numbers now. So things like that will help you ensure that you have all the information. Okay, you have a fact sheet that you can give someone who's interested in what you have to sell or rent. Okay, right. Okay, so your listing blueprint. Okay, now look, I use ChatGPT, okay? As long as I have the key features and I punch it in there, it'll give me everything. I never even have to look twice. I copy and paste, I put it in my listing platform, and I list the property, right? The only things that you need to really be wary of are certain things that it might say that aren't there, like air conditioning. Sometimes I found that it'll say it's there based on whatever it found on the internet, but you'll just want to make sure that the information that you have, you put it in there, and then once it gives you back a description, you want to make sure that there are things that that are not there that it says that are, if that makes sense. You just want to make any corrections based on what you know of that particular property, right? Whether it's for rental or sale. And I never worry too much about any strong headline, etc., because ChatGPT does that for me. But again, the key fact is that you need to know the key items to insert into it, so it gives you exactly what you need to use. Okay, mobile photography and video. Like I mentioned to you, of course, I use Objection for my pictures, and I use various other photographers as well. He probably doesn't like me saying that, but he's going to have to live with it unless he gives me a good price, right? But my point of the matter is, like I mentioned the first time, is it's very important for you to have professional pictures whenever you list any property. Never ever use your phone. As much as we're talking about mobile photography and video, right, leave that up to Herbert and anyone else as a photographer. Do not do it yourself. Do not represent anyone's property that's an asset. The property may be less than $1 million, but you know, whatever. If a property can bring 6,000 Rand minimum for a landlord, that property is a $1 million Rand property, right? If you give $1 million Rand to the bank right now, they'll give you 6-7% a year anyway. You know, my point is, it's ultimately the same thing, right? Whatever the value is, you just always want to invest by paying someone to take pictures for you professionally, whether it's a 5,000 Rand rental, whether it's a 50,000 Rand rental, or it's a 5 million Rand property, or 500,000 Rand property, right? So you just want to invest money into having it professionally photographed, because that's going to serve you at the end of the day, whether it's now or later, just like I was explained before. Okay. So copywriting formats, so writing and sales ads, okay, ChatGPT, you never really need to worry about unless, you know, ChatGPT starts, you know, I guess trademarking or copywriting their, you know, information they give us, but you never really have to worry about that. Just use ChatGPT and make sure, again, you put in the right information for you to get the right information out. Okay. So commercial listing metrics. Now leave this to me. If you have a commercial property, if you've got a lead or referral or anyone you know that says, hey, look, I've got a commercial property, bring that to me, of course, on our agreement at inception. It would have been in your contract that that's my level of focus, or that's my focus area right now. You can choose not to do it with me, it's perfectly fine, but I would ask that you still do it with me anyway, because that's my focus area, which is why I ultimately give off anything that's residential that I get, and I give it off to the team, right? Depending on where your location is, you would have experienced in our group that I've ultimately told you, called you up that I have a property XYZ, and I give it to you because my area of focus right now is strictly commercial. If anything that I'm doing residential, it's only because I'm setting up for my team members based on the fact that landlords still come to me, knowing me in the industry to do business with, right? So just keep that in mind. Commercial listings, leave it up to me, but if you want to take it further, you want to do it yourself, just do some research on it. But ultimately, you use more or less the same metrics or the same the skills that you've learned thus far, okay? But it is a different ball game. Again, just consult with me and we can always do some business together. Right, so quality lead and optimization. Okay, so pre-live checklist check. Now, refreshing stale listings. This is really all on WhatsApp. It's all communication. You need to be able to keep tagging people on. Now, if you go back to the objection handling and sales training, okay, you go through the part where you ultimately use the close that's related to you having not served someone enough, you know, that the deal died. You'll get to understand the way in which you can revive contacts by means of communication, right? So just to cut it short, it's all communication, whether you text or call, but go back to the sales training and you'll be able to get that information there. Okay? All right, now how we present a property to the market represents our standard of professional integrity. A perfect listing is not simply advertising copy. It is an institutional pledge of absolute accuracy, clarity, authority. So that's why you have to do it correct. Let's move on to the next slide.